So let's start with some specific issues that have been sort of in the news. We had, in fact, was in the news today. I believe it was in the Minneapolis paper this morning. We'll start with you, Representative Hillstrom. There was some discussion about what lawyers would call a preemption bill, having to do with minimum wage, some workplace standards and things like that. And by preemption, meaning that the legislature would be saying that it's the legislature that's going to pass rules in this area, not local cities. Tell us a little bit about the issue and how it's going.
Sure. So today there was just a big hearing right before I came over in the Minnesota House of Representatives. There is a proposal that says all of the effort that has been made to raise the minimum wage and to bring sick and safe time in local communities, there is a bill to stop that from happening and to say you are preempted by state law and you cannot have anything higher than what the state law currently allows. It is my position that state law is the floor. It says you have to be at a minimum wage, and I actually believe that our local communities should have the right to have the ability to raise their wages higher. I believe that they should have the ability to mandate that people have sick and safe time. So the hearing was packed. They had an overflow room. People were testifying about the impact that it would have on their businesses, both for and against the proposal. I think that I believe Kurt Daudt said that that was one of his #1 priorities to pass this session, and the governor has said he is not in favor of having a preemption. So I think that will be one of the fights that continues on all legislative session.
Senator Hoffman,
it's amazing in that whole conversation you hear about it, and it comes back to just what are we doing to assure that our working class neighbors are really being taken care of? And this whole debate about health care, this whole debate about health insurance and whether we see it as a privilege or a right, and this really gets to the heart of the matter, saying, okay, not only are we going to talk about a minimum wage, but we're also going to talk about making sure we have the safe and sick time that's there. And we know that when we're taking care of our employees, that we're taking care of our families. And when we're taking care of our families, we're taking care of our communities. We're taking care of our communities. We're all working more and we're paying taxes and everybody's happy. So I hope the discussion leads with that first example and not either somebody getting pivoted on one side of the angle or the other, but are really caring about our folks on Main Street and our folks that are next door neighbors. So that's,
Well, I'm shocked that we don't quite agree. I am thinking about pivoting and angles and Main Street, but I agree with you on those points. I'm for Main Street. The issue is, uniformity as a business, and actually, should government tell businesses what they have to do? Mm-hmm. And is there a market that people will choose to come to one employer or another? And very frankly, some of the very well-intended ideas that have been put on business have actually driven away some jobs. And minimum wage, I've voted yes and no on different minimum wage bills over the years, and I appreciate the value. But there is plenty of evidence that if you go to the front desk of the front of some restaurants, you talk to an iPad and you don't talk to a person. That's not because of some of those are because the people had no choice but to survive that way. And so, but by the way, there is discussions even on the behalf of the labor that if there's a matter about some time off or family time, that they couldn't bargain for that, they would be less inclined to get it because the city already has a floor and they can't even do something better. That just came up today from talking to one of my friends. So I think it'll be quite a discussion going forward, don't you think?
He's actually on a point there because there are a few restaurants within, I know, the cities that are really pushing this, both in St. Paul, that actually negotiate their contracts, their union shops, and it's great. And that's where it falls into, saying, well, are we having that discussion again to make sure that that person who is within that union shop is having their rights taken care of? Which leads me to say, so look at some of those states that made right to work the law of the land, and you saw, the people's living wages and everything just go to the ceiling, go to the floor on this stuff. And so, but I'm glad we're having these discussions, and I hope we make sure we keep those folks in mind. So.
Representative Norris, your thoughts on this whole discussion?
I haven't been very involved in this whole topic, only from what I've heard. I've heard more tonight probably than I have the rest of the session so far. There have been a number of restaurants up in my area, not specifically Fergus Falls, that really struggled. Some have actually closed. And I don't know if that has anything to do with what we're talking about here or not. But the one thought I had, I was touring the Hennepin County Technical School, or Hennepin Technical School, that's an accounting school. Mm-hmm. The technical school today, and the one thing that I kept hearing over and over from the instructors of all of the programs that they're offering, are the wages that these students are getting. And there's nothing even close to the minimum wage. $13, $14 was the absolute minimum that most of them were getting. Some were getting $20, $30, $35 an hour.
Where was that? I'll go.
So I guess what I'm saying is the freer the market is, in my opinion, the better all of this is, and the less the state is telling people how to run their business, what to pay their employees, and what kind of perks and benefits to give them as well. That would be my ideal situation.
Well-
Less government, the better.
Well, that is actually the question. Should the state be the one to say this is what you're going to pay, or should you allow local units of government to set these wages with requirements for sick and safe time? I mean, local governments have always had the ability to say, if you get a subsidy, we're going to require you to have certain requirements, right? You're going to have to pay your employees a certain amount, or you're going to have to do other things. So they've always had that ability. And so the question is, do you want to take that right away from your local unit of government to determine what your local standards should be?
Well,
So that's the question.
That's where I disagree. I don't think the local unit of government should be involved either. It's strictly the individual businesses that operate in a community should be making all those decisions.
But we already set minimum wage, right? We already say you got to
I
pay
didn't
them at
vote for
least
that
a certain. Okay, all right. Well, we'll disagree about that one too. Then.
So the sort of the way this issue sets up, though, as a practical matter, and I look to you, Representative Hillstrom, on this one, but the way this issue sets up is the governor having said that he's not in favor of it. If such a bill passes, the chances are pretty good it gets vetoed.
I think there's a very good chance that would happen.
Right.
I think that preemption and saying that you can't have a higher standard in your community is not really the direction this governor has wanted to go.